On what should have been a perfect night, she was publicly humiliated. Her own fiancé humiliated her in front of everyone at an elegant restaurant, mocking her origins, her dreams, the woman she was. Every word spoken aloud tore at her dignity, while the surrounding silence seemed to agree. She left with a broken heart, wondering if God still saw her. But outside, a simple man did something that changed everything. What seemed like mere compassion revealed itself to be divine providence, a miracle. Because sometimes God allows a door to close in public, only to silently open a new destiny. Sarah was 27 years old and believed she was finally living the fairy tale she had always dreamed of. She was an elementary school teacher at a public school in Portland, Oregon, earning just over $3,000 a month and living in a modest suburban apartment. But in the last 8 months, since meeting Brandon Mitchell at a charity event, her life seemed to have changed completely. Brandon was everything she never imagined having. At 35, he was the marketing director of a tech company, drove a pristine black Tesla, wore watches that cost more than her car, and frequented the most sophisticated places in town. And somehow, he had chosen her. At first, Sarah felt out of place. Brandon's friends were different. They talked about trips to Europe as if they were going to the supermarket. They wore designer clothes with a naturalness she never had. But Brandon always said that's precisely what he loved about her. Her simplicity, her authenticity, the pure heart of a woman who hadn't been corrupted by money. "You are real, Sarah," he used to say, holding her face in his hands. "In a world full of falsehood, you are my anchor." And she believed him. She believed him so much that when he proposed 3 months ago, she didn't think twice before saying yes. The ring was beautiful, a diamond solitaire that shone in any light, and the proposal was perfect, at sunset in the Columbia River Gorge, with him on his knees and her crying tears of joy. But that Friday night, March 15th, would be different from all the others. Brandon had reserved a table at Le Pigeon, one of Portland's most exclusive restaurants. It was meant to be a celebration. They were going to have dinner with some of his close friends and toast to the future. Sarah spent hours getting ready. She bought a simple but elegant navy blue dress, got her nails done, and spent more time than usual on her makeup. She wanted to look good, you know? She wanted him to be proud of her. When they arrived at the restaurant at 8 o'clock in the evening, the place was immaculate. Low, warm lighting created an intimate atmosphere. The tables were decorated with candles and arrangements of white flowers, and the sound of quiet conversations filled the air. Sarah felt that flutter in her stomach, half excitement, half nervousness. She never felt completely comfortable in these places. 3 couples were already seated at the table. Marcus and Vivian, both lawyers, Tom and Jennifer, who worked in finance, and Derek and Natalie, owners of a successful startup. All well-dressed, all confident, all part of a world that Sarah was still trying to understand. "Hey, everyone," Brandon said with that wide grin, pulling out a chair for Sarah. "Sorry I'm late. Sarah took forever to get ready. It was a joke. At least it should have been, but the tone was different." Sarah forced a smile and sat down, feeling the stares assessing her dress, her hair, her presence. "Okay, love," she murmured, picking up the menu and trying to appear at ease. The conversation started lightly. They talked about work, about the new house Marcus and Vivian were buying in Lake Oswego, about the trip Tom and Jennifer were taking to the Maldives. Sarah tried to follow along, but it was difficult to contribute when the topics revolved around investments, properties, and international travel. Then Vivian, with a polite but curious smile, turned to Sarah. "And you, Sarah? Brandon said you're a teacher, right? That must be rewarding." There was something about the way she said rewarding that sounded condescending, but Sarah ignored it. "Yes, I work with second graders. It's challenging, but I love what I do." "How beautiful," Natalie commented, in a tone that didn't seem genuine. "I imagine it's quite different from what we're used to here." Sarah felt the first pang of discomfort, but Brandon placed his hand over hers on the table. "That's exactly what I always say. Sarah has her feet on the ground. Unlike you rich kids." Laughter filled the air around the table. Sarah tried to smile too, but something about it didn't seem right. Dinner continued. The dishes arrived, food that was far too sophisticated, with French names that Sarah could barely pronounce. She ordered the simplest thing she found on the menu, a mushroom risotto, while the others chose elaborate dishes with foie gras, truffles, and expensive wines. That's when Derek asked, "So, Brandon, when's the big day? Have you set a wedding date yet?" Brandon took a sip of wine and replied with a laugh, We're still figuring it out. You know how it is. You have to plan everything carefully. Sarah wants something small, humble, something really rustic." The tone changed. There was something mocking about it. Sarah looked at him, confused. "Brandon, we haven't decided anything yet." He interrupted her. "Honey, it's true. You said you wanted to do it in a simple church, remember? With that community hall afterwards, potluck style." He paused and turned to his friends. "You know those parties where everyone brings a dish? She thinks it's charming." Some uncomfortable laughter echoed around the table. Sarah felt her face heat up. "I just said it didn't have to be something extravagant, Brandon." Of course," he continued, now with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Because we know that with a teacher's salary, it's not enough to afford much. It's different from you, who can have those weddings at resorts, international destinations and all that." The silence that followed was heavy. Sarah felt the world crumble. She looked around and saw embarrassed faces, some avoiding her gaze, others with discreet smiles of pity, or worse, agreement. "Brandon," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "Why are you talking like that?" He shrugged, refilling his wine glass. "I'm just being honest, Sarah. There's nothing wrong with being poor, it's your reality. Everyone here knows that. Poor thing." The word echoed in her mind like a gunshot. He had never used that word before, at least not in front of her. Marcus tried to change the subject, feeling uncomfortable. "So, has anyone seen the latest episode of—" But Brandon didn't stop. He was different that night. Maybe from the wine, maybe from something he'd been hiding for a long time. "You know what's funny?" he said, turning to Sarah but speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I always thought you'd grow up, like mature, want more out of life. But you still drive that 2008 Honda Civic with the broken rearview mirror. You still live in that tiny, musty-smelling apartment. You still wear thrift store clothes and think it's stylish." Tears began to well up in Sarah's eyes. She was paralyzed and unable to react, as if she were watching it from outside her own body. "Brandon, this is ridiculous. You're drunk." Jennifer tried to intervene, but he raised his hand, gesturing for silence. "No, let me finish. Because you all think this, but nobody has the courage to say it." He looked directly at Sarah now, with a coldness she had never seen before. "You are limited, Sarah. Your dreams are small. You want to be a teacher your whole life, live in that cramped apartment, raise children in a mediocre life. And I don't want that. I want more." Each word was like a stab. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face, but she was too frozen to wipe them away. I really tried," Brandon continued, now almost as if he were justifying himself to his friends. "But we're from different worlds. She can't keep up. She doesn't know how to speak properly in these places. She doesn't understand wine. She doesn't know how to dress. Did you see the dress she chose today? She looks like a secretary from the 90s. Now the looks were of pity. And that was worse than anything." Sarah stood up slowly, trembling. Her voice came out weak, broken. You said you loved me." Brandon sighed, as if tired of a stubborn child. "I liked you, Sarah, but liking isn't enough." She took the engagement ring off her finger, the ring that, just a few months ago, had meant everything, and placed it on the table with a soft jingle. Without saying anything more, she turned and walked toward the exit. Her legs trembled so badly she could barely walk straight. Behind her, she heard Vivian whisper to Brandon, "You were very cruel." And his indifferent reply was, "Someone had to tell the truth." Sarah pushed open the restaurant door and stepped out onto the cold March street. The fine rain typical of Portland fell, wetting her face. Or perhaps it was just tears. She no longer knew. He leaned against the brick wall of the building next door and let himself collapse. How had her life reached this point? How could she, who had always been proud of who she was, of her humble origins, of her honest work, have allowed someone to destroy her like that? And worse, how had she not realized sooner that he thought that way? God, she whispered, her voice hoarse, looking at the dark sky. Do you still see me? Because I feel invisible. I feel nothing. It was a weak, embarrassed prayer, almost devoid of faith. But it was all she had at that moment. Sarah didn't know how much time had passed there, leaning against that wall, the rain soaking her hair and clothes. 5 minutes? Half an hour? Time seemed to have lost its meaning. She looked at the wet ground, watching the raindrops form small puddles, and all she could think about was how stupid she had been. Stupid for believing. Stupid for thinking that someone like Brandon could truly love her. Stupid for forgetting who she was. Excuse me, are you all right? The voice was masculine, soft, laden with genuine concern. Sarah looked up and saw a man standing a few steps away. He was around 30, wearing a simple work uniform, dark blue cargo pants, and a shirt with the name Daniel embroidered on the pocket. His cap was wet from the rain, and he carried a battered backpack on his shoulders. There was something in his brown eyes, a kindness Sarah hadn't expected to find at that moment. She quickly wiped her face and trying to hide her tears. I'm fine, thank you. But her voice came out too choked, and it was obvious that she was far from well. Daniel took a cautious step forward, like someone approaching someone who is hurt and doesn't want to frighten them even more. Sorry, I was inside, he said, nodding toward the restaurant. I work in the kitchen. I'm a general helper. I saw what happened. Well, everyone saw, and I couldn't stay quiet knowing you were out here alone. Sarah felt a new wave of shame. He had witnessed everything, another witness to her public humiliation. She lowered her head. It's embarrassing, isn't it, that yet another person saw that? No, Daniel replied firmly. His behavior was embarrassing, not yours. She looked at him again, surprised. There was something in the sincerity of those words that deeply resonated with her. Daniel wasn't trying to console her with empty phrases. He seemed genuinely indignant at what he had seen. Look, I know we don't know each other, he continued, taking off his cap and running a hand through his damp brown hair. And I don't want to seem intrusive, but I couldn't just leave you here, in this rain, devastated because of a guy who clearly doesn't deserve you. Can I at least offer you an umbrella? Or call an Uber for you? Sarah let out a bitter, joyless laugh. I don't even know what to do anymore. My car is parked 3 blocks from here. I should just leave, but it feels like my legs aren't working properly. Daniel nodded understandingly. That's all right. You just went through something awful. It's normal to be in shock. He hesitated for a moment, then opened his backpack and pulled out a folded jacket. Here, at least put this on. You're shaking. Sarah looked at the jacket, worn but clean, and then at the man, a complete stranger, who was showing more kindness than her own fiancé had in months. She picked up the jacket and slung it over her shoulders. The fabric was warm and smelled of simple laundry detergent. It was comforting. Thank you, she murmured. You didn't need to do that. I know, Daniel said with a small smile. But I wanted to do it. My name is Daniel, by the way. Daniel Foster. Sarah, she replied, tightening her jacket around her body. Sarah Collins. They remained silent for a few seconds. The rain continued to fall, soft and steady. In the distance, the sound of Portland traffic filled the night. Daniel leaned against the wall beside her, maintaining a safe but present distance. Can I tell you something? He said after a while. When I saw you in there before everything fell apart, I thought, she seems out of place, but not in a bad way. In a real way. Everyone in there had that pose, that social mask. But not you. You were trying to fit in, but you could see that you're different. And I don't say that as an insult. I say it as a compliment. Sarah felt her eyes welling up with tears again. But that's exactly what he used against me. The fact that I was different, that I wasn't like those people. Daniel shook his head. No, he used that because he's insecure and small-minded. You know what I saw in there? A guy who needed to humiliate the woman he claimed to love to feel important in front of his friends. That's not strength, Sarah. It's weakness disguised as arrogance. The word struck a chord deep within her. Sarah looked at Daniel, that simple man in his work uniform with calloused hands, and realized that he saw things she herself had refused to see for months. You're right, she admitted, her voice breaking. I knew. Deep down, I always knew something was wrong, but I so badly wanted to believe that someone like him could love me, that I ignored all the signs. Hey, don't do this to yourself, Daniel said gently. You're not to blame for believing in someone. That's called hope. That's called having a good heart. The problem isn't you. It never was. Sarah let the tears fall freely now, not just from sadness, but from a strange relief. Relief at finally hearing someone validate what she felt, at not being judged, at not having to pretend that everything was all right. Why are you being so kind to me? She asked, her voice weak. You don't even know me. Daniel was quiet for a moment, as if carefully choosing his words. Then he said, because I believe that God puts people in each other's path exactly when they need them. And maybe I'm here now for a reason. That touched something in Sarah that she didn't even know still existed. God. It had been a long time since she had truly thought about God, not with genuine faith. She had grown up going to church with her mother, but in recent years, especially after she started dating Brandon, faith had taken a back seat, and now, there, broken and lost, that simple mention of divine providence made something inside her awaken. Do you really believe that? She asked, staring at him. That God cares about such trivial things? About a girl crying in the street because she was humiliated by her fiancé? Daniel smiled, a sad smile but full of certainty. Sarah, nothing is small in God's eyes. He sees every tear, every pain, every moment we think we're alone. And He never, ever abandons us. Sometimes we just don't realize He's working because we expect Him to appear in a grand way. But sometimes, He appears through simple people, like me, who was in a restaurant kitchen and felt in my heart that I needed to go out and see if you were okay. Sarah felt a shiver run through her body. It wasn't from the cold. It was something different. A feeling that maybe, just maybe, that weak, embarrassed prayer she had made minutes before had been heard and answered. I prayed, she confessed, almost whispering. In there, before you appeared, I asked God if He could still see me. And then you appeared. Daniel didn't seem surprised. He simply nodded, as if it made perfect sense to him. So, that's it. You have your answer. They stayed there for a few more minutes, in a comfortable silence this time. The rain began to lessen, and the city lights seemed softer, less hostile. Sarah felt something she hadn't felt in hours, maybe months. Peace. Would you like me to walk you to your car? Daniel offered after a while. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to thank me. Just let me make sure you get to your car safely. Sarah nodded, wiping her face with the back of her hand. I would like that. Thank you, Daniel. They walked together through the wet streets of Portland. Sarah was still wearing his jacket, and Daniel walked beside her. Respectful, protective without being intrusive. When they reached the Honda Civic parked under a lamppost, Sarah stopped and looked at the car. The same car Brandon had ridiculed, with the actually broken rear-view mirror and faded paint. That's my car, she said, with a mixture of shame and defiance in her voice. The 2008 Honda Civic with the broken rear-view mirror that he so despised. Daniel looked at the car and smiled. You know what I see? A car that works. A car that gets you places. An honest car. There's nothing wrong with that. Sarah felt an unexpected emotion wash over her. How could this man, whom she had known for less than an hour, make her feel seen and valued in a way that Brandon never had in 8 months? She took off her jacket and held it out to him. Here. Thank you for everything, really. You saved me today. Daniel picked up the jacket but shook his head. God saved you, Sarah. I was just the messenger. He hesitated, then pulled a small crumpled card from his pocket. Look, I know you don't know me and have no reason to trust me, but if you need to talk, or just, I don't know, have someone to remind you that you have value, here's my number. No strings attached, no pressure, just someone who cares. Sarah took the card. It was handwritten. Daniel Foster, and a phone number. Simple as that. She put it in her purse pocket and looked at it. "I'll call. I don't know when, but I will." "Whenever you want," Daniel replied. "And Sarah, one last thing." "What? That guy in there? He'll regret losing you for the rest of his life, but you won't regret leaving. Remember that." Sarah felt the tears welling up again, but this time they were different. They were tears of gratitude, of hope reborn. She got into the car, started the engine, and waved to Daniel before driving off. In the broken rearview mirror, she saw him waving back, standing under the streetlight, until she turned the corner, and he disappeared. The days that followed were the hardest of Sarah's life. She called in sick to work on Monday, which wasn't a lie, because she really felt sick. Sick with sadness, shame, anger. She spent the entire weekend in her apartment, barely showering, eating poorly, watching movies without paying attention, crying at random moments. Brandon's messages started Saturday morning, first trying to justify himself. "I drank too much, sorry." Then getting angry. "You're exaggerating. It was just an argument." And finally playing the victim. "My friends think you embarrassed me." Sarah blocked his number after the fifth message. She had nothing more to say to him. It was Tuesday night, while washing the dishes piled up in the sink, that she found herself looking at the purse hanging on the kitchen chair. Daniel's card was still there, tucked away in the side pocket. She had thought about him every day since that night. About the words he said, the kind way he treated her, the way he saw value in her when she couldn't see it herself. With her hands still wet with soap, she picked up her cell phone and dialed the number. Her heart was pounding. She didn't know what she was going to say, but she needed to talk to him. She needed that voice that made her feel human again. The phone rang 3 times before he answered. "Hello?" "Hi, Daniel. It's Sarah, from the restaurant." There was a brief pause, and then she heard the smile in his voice. "Sarah, hey, it's so good to hear from you. How are you?" "I'm surviving, I guess." She gave a weak laugh and sat down on the worn-out living room sofa. "Sorry for taking so long to call. I needed to process everything that happened. No need to apologize. You went through something tough. It's normal to need time." He paused. "But tell me, honestly, how are you feeling?" And then, in a way she hadn't expected, Sarah broke down. She told him everything. About the last few days locked up at home, about Brandon's pathetic messages, about how lost and small she felt, about how she couldn't look in the mirror without hearing the cruel words he had said. Daniel just listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to offer quick solutions. He just listened with infinite patience. When she finished, exhausted from talking so much, he said, "Sarah, can I ask you a question?" "Of course. Before you met this guy, who were you?" The question caught her off guard. "What do you mean?" "Like, before he came into your life, did you like yourself? Were you happy?" Sarah thought, and she realized something important. Yes, I was. I loved my job. I had my friends, my routine. I didn't have much money, but I was myself. And that was enough. "Then why isn't it anymore?" Daniel asked gently. Silence. "Because," Sarah began, feeling the tears welling up again, "because I let him convince me that I wasn't enough. I let him redefine who I am." "Exactly. And now you need to rediscover yourself. You need to remember who Sarah is without anyone's opinion defining you. And I can help you with that if you want. As a friend, no ulterior motives, no pressure, just someone who wants to see you well." Something in Sarah's chest opened. It was as if she had been holding her breath for months and could finally breathe again. "I would love that, very much." And that's how it began. Daniel didn't try to rush her. In the first few months, they just talked. Sometimes on the phone, sometimes over coffee at a simple cafe near her apartment, sometimes just texting throughout the day. He told her about his own life. He grew up in a humble family in Eugene, lost his father when he was 15, helped his mother raise his 2 younger siblings. He worked various jobs, did odd jobs, and was now saving money to open his own landscaping business. "I've always enjoyed working with plants, you know," he said one day as they walked in a park. There's something about watching something grow, bloom. It's like a metaphor for restoration. You take care of it, you water it, you have patience, and then one day something beautiful is born. Sarah looked at him and realized he wasn't just talking about plants. Daniel also took her back to church. He didn't force her. He didn't preach. He simply invited her. There's a community I go to on Sundays. It's simple. The people are welcoming. You're welcome if you want to go. And she went. And for the first time in years, she felt that presence, that certainty that God was there, that she had never been abandoned. The pastor spoke about restoration that Sunday, about how God takes broken things and makes something new, something stronger. Sarah cried throughout the entire service, but they were tears of healing. Over time, the shame began to lessen. Sarah went back to dressing the way she liked. Simple, comfortable, authentic. She started going out with her old friends again, whom she had neglected during her relationship with Brandon. She started laughing for real again, and Daniel was always there, not as someone who saved her and was now collecting a debt, but as someone who genuinely cared. He became her favorite person, the one with whom she wanted to share the small victories and the difficult days. It was one afternoon in June, 6 months after that terrible night at the restaurant, that something changed between them. They were sitting on a park bench, eating ice cream and watching children play. Sarah looked at Daniel, the way he smiled when he saw a dog walking by, the way he had crumbs of ice cream in the corner of his mouth, the way he looked at her as if she were the most important person in the world. And she realized she had fallen in love with him. It wasn't a lightning bolt. It was a gentle certainty, like waking up on a sunny morning and realizing you'd slept well for the first time in a long time. "Daniel," she said, interrupting what he was saying about a new garden project. "Hey, I need to tell you something." He turned to her, attentive. "You can speak." Sarah took a deep breath. "I fell in love with you. And I know you said it was just friendship. And I understand if you don't feel the same way. But I needed to be honest because you taught me that honesty is important, and lying about it would be dishonest to myself." Daniel was silent for a moment that seemed like an eternity. Then he smiled. That beautiful, sincere smile she had learned to love. "Sarah, I was waiting for you to heal first. I didn't want to be the one to take advantage of you when you were vulnerable. But I also fell in love with you. Like, from that first night, I was just waiting for the right moment." Their kiss was gentle, careful, full of promise. It wasn't a desperate or passionate kiss. It was a kiss that said, "I see you. I value you. I will take care of your heart." From there, the relationship grew slowly, intentionally. Daniel formally introduced her to his mother, Donna, a strong and loving woman who embraced Sarah as if she were her own daughter. Sarah took Daniel to meet her friends, who immediately approved. They began to build a life together, not based on appearances or status, but on respect, faith, and true love. Daniel proposed to Sarah a year later, in the same park where she had confessed her feelings. It was simple. No hidden cameras, no audience, no expensive ring, just him, her, and a promise to build a life based on God's purposes. They married in a small church ceremony, surrounded by those who truly mattered. Donna cried tears of joy. Sarah's friends cheered as she entered, and the pastor who had been with them throughout the process smiled as he pronounced them husband and wife. 3 years later, sitting on the porch of the simple but cozy house they built together, with their 2-year-old daughter asleep in her lap and Daniel watering the garden plants, Sarah looked back and understood everything. That terrible night at the restaurant wasn't the end. It was the beginning. It was God closing a door in public, a door that seemed to lead to a bright future, but which was actually trapping her in a life of pretense, to silently open a new door. A door that led to authenticity, to healing, to real love, and to a greater purpose. Brandon never truly apologized. She overheard through a mutual acquaintance, that he had married a successful executive 6 months later. Sarah felt nothing upon hearing this. No anger, no envy, nothing. That version of herself who cared about his approval had died that night, and a better, stronger, truer version had been born. Daniel approached and kissed the top of her head, then gently stroked his sleeping daughter's hair. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. Sarah smiled. "In how faithful God is. Even when we don't understand, even when everything seems lost. He's working," Daniel smiled back. "It always has been." And there, on that balcony, Sarah finally understood the meaning of redemption. It's not about erasing the pain. The pain happened and will always be part of your story. It's about transforming the pain into something beautiful. It's about allowing God to take the pieces of something broken and build a beautiful mosaic. Because sometimes God allows a door to close in public, only to silently open a new destiny, a better, truer destiny more aligned with who you really are. And when you look back, you realize that nothing was wasted. Everything served to take you exactly where you needed to be. Look, if you've made it this far in this story, you've just witnessed something beautiful. Proof that God never abandons his own. Sarah was publicly destroyed, but she was restored in silence. And that's how God often works. He doesn't need spotlights or an audience. He works in secret, in unlikely encounters. At the exact moment, through simple people like Daniel. How many times do we cling to doors that are closing without realizing that a window is opening on the other side? How many times do we accept crumbs of love because we're afraid of being alone, without understanding that God is preparing a banquet? Sarah's story teaches us that what seems like the end can be just the beginning of something much bigger, that God answers prayers, sometimes not in the way we expect, but always at the right time, and that true love does not humiliate, diminish, or shame. True love sees, values, and restores. If this story touched you in any way, if you needed to hear this today, leave a like below, comment on what you felt, and subscribe to the channel to continue hearing stories that will speak directly to your heart. Just like this one I'm sharing with you. God bless you.